Hey folks, welcome back to another video. So it's been a while since I posted on the channel, and now you're going to get 3 videos at once. They're on a little bit of a different topic than usual, although still related in some way to Twisty puzzling. So I haven't posted much about puzzles recently because I've been working on a different personal project. Alongside Twisty puzzles, one of my big hobbies is abstract strategy board games. So these are two-player games of perfect information with no randomness that are purely based on strategy and tactics. Of course, there are many classic games in this category that we may be familiar with, like chess, Go, shogi, Chinese chess, or Xiangqi, all this kind of stuff. And my game, Permute, falls into that category and is inspired by the mechanics of Twisty puzzles. So it's a game that actually focuses on twisting pieces around the board and connecting them together to achieve a higher score than your opponent. Fortunately for me, I'm surprised and delighted to say that this website here, MindSports, which is run by legendary board game designer Christian Freeling, have picked up on Permute, and they enjoyed the basic mechanics of the game and decided to implement a version which you can play online via their players section, or you can play interactively against AI, or you can sit with your friend in front of the screen and pass the mouse back and forth. It's a really great implementation. I'm so happy with it. So I wanted to show you a bit about this game Permute, and express to you why I created it and why I think it's worth checking out. So in the 3 videos that you'll see added to the channel today, this one is just a quick introduction to the game, basic ideas of how it works, a few sample moves, and that'll be it. The second video is a more detailed look at Permute. I'll go all the way through a game against the AI live, so you can see my thinking process as I play and hopefully get some idea of how the game works in practice. And I'll talk a little bit more about the origins of it and so on. The third video will cover these 2 games here, Catchup and Slyde, which are kind of the ancestors of Permute. Basically, the core mechanic that I wanted to create of twisting things in this game really needed some other ingredients to come together, and I got those through inspiration from Catchup and Slyde. So being that I'm a scientist in my day job, I love to cite my sources, so I wanted to give you a bit of information about these 2 great games as well, show you how they influenced my design, and hopefully demonstrate to you why they're also great games and really very much worth checking out. And they also have some strong players already out there that you can face off against. So without further ado, let me just explain a bit about how you get to the game. So when you go to mindsports.nl, there are 2 different sections of games available here. Primarily, they're divided into the arena. In the arena, these are kind of the bona fide classics, the very influential games, a lot of creations from Christian Freeling himself, but also classic traditional abstract games. Like down here, you can see chess, shogi, drafts, Go, hex, etc. Then you have the pit, and the pit is where you will find not only some chess variants, some drafts variants, and some more of Christian Freeling's more outlandish designs, but also some contributions from others, including my game Permute. So if you scroll down, there's a section where it says here, you can play a number of interesting games that are either traditional or the work of fellow inventors. And there's a subsection here called Territory and Connection Games, and there you will find Permute right next to its ancestors, Catchup and Slyde. So if I click on Permute, that brings me to the rules page. Now the rules look long, but this is just because I've tried to be very accurate to answer any potential questions people might have about the rules. But as you'll see when we go into play against the AI for a few moves, it's pretty straightforward to figure out, and especially if you're familiar with Twisty puzzles, you'll get the hang of it quickly. So Permute is a little bit unusual if you're used to games like Go or chess or shogi, in that the board doesn't start with a small subset of pieces on the board like in chess or shogi, and it doesn't start empty like in Go. It starts full, and the player's pieces are thoroughly intermixed in this checkerboard pattern. There's also a secondary setup, which looks like this. The pieces are still evenly mixed together, but they're in pairs. I do like this in some ways because, as you'll see, it adds a bit more clarity to the board when you're playing in this format. Connections between pieces form more obviously, but I generally still play on the checkerboard. I think there's something elegant about having that core setup. So when you start the game, you're confronted with this checkerboard setup, and the first player is assigned the orange pieces, and the second player is assigned the yellow pieces. The goal of the game is to bring together connected chunks on the board of your colored pieces, and at the end of the game to have a larger connected group of pieces than your opponent. Now, pieces are only considered connected when they are horizontally or vertically adjacent. So in this initial checkerboard pattern, all of the two players' pieces are connected only diagonally. So by the game's rules, none of them are connected into a single group. And the way that you connect pieces is by doing the core mechanism of the game, which is twisting. And this is the part that is inspired, of course, by Twisty puzzles. So you'll see in MindSports implementation here, when I mouse over these vertices across the board, it sort of highlights this arrow, which can go either clockwise or counterclockwise. And I can change the direction of the arrow or the direction of my twist by using the mouse wheel on my computer. And I can choose which direction I want to twist. And what I'm going to do in the game is I have two parts to my turn. And when my turn comes up, I'm able to pick one 2x2 subset of pieces anywhere on the board. It can't extend off the board. It has to be completely on the board. So you can't just rotate, two pieces on the corner or something. It has to be a full set of 4. Then I click the vertex where I'm interested in making a twist, and then I twist the pieces like so. And you can see now what's happened. That single twist move has already significantly changed this chunk of the board, right? We had no pieces connected before, but now we have two groups of 3 that are connected horizontally and vertically for both colors. And that dilemma is a big part of the enjoyment of Permute, is that each move is a trade-off. Every twist will help you, but it also might help your opponent. So you need to carefully balance your tactical and strategic needs of any given move with what you're giving to your opponent. It also means that your moves tend to not be so secure, and you'll see why in a moment. So that's part 1 of my turn. I make the twist that I want to make. It can be clockwise or counterclockwise. Then I must bandage a piece. Now, this is, of course, a term derived from Twisty puzzles itself. And to bandage a piece, I have to pick one of the pieces of my color, which was in that 2x2 face I just turned, and I need to pick one piece that will stay locked in place for the rest of the game. So in this case, I'm not here to play seriously, just demonstrate the game. So I bandage that piece, and what that means is that from now on, I cannot make any 2x2 face twists that include that piece. So I can still make twists all around it like this, right? So that means that as we play through the game, every turn you're doing a twist and then you're doing a bandage. And gradually the board will become more constricted. There'll be less possible moves that you can make because you won't be able to twist a full 2x2 face if there are too many bandaged pieces around. And so eventually you won't be able to make any twists at all. And that's where the end of the game comes in. So when there's no more moves available, everybody stops twisting, and then you count up the size of your largest group of pieces that's connected horizontally and vertically, and you compare the size of that group to your opponent. If you have the largest group, then you win the game. If you, however, are tied for the largest group, then you look at the second largest group for each player, and the largest on that tier will then take the win. If you're still tied for the second largest, then you look at the third, then the fourth, and so on. This scoring mechanism of cascading down through first, second, third largest groups to find a winner is actually derived from the game Catchup, which, again, I'll talk about in the third video in this series. And that's really all you need to know. So you twist, you bandage, you gradually lock out the board. You compete with your opponent for territory and to set up connected sets of pieces. And hopefully, over time, you build up a more secure structure and you put together the largest group. So the game really has a strategic feel because ultimately what you need to do is build up groups that can't easily be disrupted. And that's quite a challenge in this game. And the interesting part for me about playing Permute is that, each move, I change a lot of the board, but I only fully protect one piece. And I create influence on the surrounding possible twists. And as bandaged pieces get close together, like here, so now, because these two bandaged pieces are only one space apart, that actually blocks off some possible twists, right? I can't twist around these vertexes anymore. I can twist here, but these two locked pieces have effectively also locked that one. And as you go through the game, those constrictions in your mobility where you can twist will mean that you have to be very careful about what you choose to lock in place and when. You need to make sure that you can grow your own groups of pieces without overly helping your opponent. So that is the core kind of strategic challenge of Permute. So I'm just sort of quietly making moves here, just so you can see how the game evolves. So the Mind Sports implementation keeps track of the current score. So currently, the computer player has the largest group of size 11, which is this connected set of pieces right here. My largest group is only 7, so I've got some catching up to do. But as you go through the game, the scores will oscillate quite a bit, and a key element of the game is trying to protect the groups that you create and not leave yourself in a position where you can't reconnect if your opponent twists things out of position. And that's a significant part of the challenge here. Let's see. I think I've already got myself into a bad spot here, but that's how the game goes. However, I can at least chop off 2 pieces from this group if I move that, or alternately, I think, yeah. So see that counterclockwise twist. Put my orange piece where this yellow piece used to be, and that effectively chops off this whole chunk of pieces, because again, remember, pieces can't be considered part of the same group if they're only connected diagonally. So let's do that. That seems suitably annoying. Yeah, and so now because of that move, again, the status has changed. So I'm still behind, but I'm only behind by 1. The opponent's subsequent move brought a couple of pieces into play in this group on the other side. So as you go through the game, you'll find that the board state is constantly shifting. Things that you thought were secure will get disrupted. You'll have to redirect your efforts elsewhere around the board. You'll start to discover which parts of the board are most important to control as you build your territory where you can construct safe groups of pieces. And it's fairly intuitive once you get started, but you'll soon find that it's clearly possible to build some interesting strategies. And I hope that people will go and give this game a try. I think it does have the ingredients to give you an interesting play experience. Even as you gain more experience with the game, I think it will still have more secrets to unlock. Yeah, so that basically, in a nutshell, is Permute. Rather than go through a whole game in this video, I will just quickly show you the end state of a game I completed yesterday. So this was a quick game I did against the AI on Mind Sports. This is the final position. Now you can see, actually, we had to use the scoring for the second largest group to resolve this game. So both yellow and orange have quite big groups on the board. So yellow has a big group stretching all the way around here. You can see everything connected nicely, horizontally and vertically only. And the same for orange. It has a big group going all the way around here. But actually, they're of equal size. So that means using the cascading scoring derived from Catchup, we looked then at the second largest group. And there I took the win by having my second largest group of 10 pieces versus the opponent's 7. So this was actually the first game I played against the AI. I was just kind of feeling out the online implementation, experimenting with it. Since then, I found that the AI does have some weaknesses strategically. If you build your way smartly across the board, control the center, and so forth, you can usually outwit them and not get too mired in their sort of tactical attacks on your groups of pieces. But the AI is a lot of fun to play against. Definitely a good way to learn the game. And if you go to Mind Sports on the player section, which is available up here, you can actually send people challenges and play online games by correspondence. So it's all free. Nothing. You don't need a membership or a subscription or anything like that. As I shown you, there's many great games on Mind Sports that are well worth your time. So even if Permute doesn't turn out to be your thing, you can play classics like chess or Go or lots of really awesome modern abstract game designs. So I'd say please do yourself a favor, check out Mind Sports. If you've got a moment in your evening or weekend, please do check out Permute and let me know in the comments what you think about it. I'm hoping that it'll appeal to cubers as well as board gamers on the basis that there is this twisting element to it. But I tried basically to capture that feeling that I love in Twisty puzzles. And the big challenge in Twisty puzzles comes from the fact that your moves don't feel safe, right? You have to develop techniques to preserve what you've done on your puzzle as you move through the stages of solving it, because every move that you do messes up a bunch of stuff, basically. And this game hopefully will give you the same feel. You can see progress happening as you go through the game. You'll build groups, but things will get disrupted all the time, and you'll overlook moves that your opponent could use to break apart your groups. And it adds this really dynamic feel to the game, which I really, really like. So again, I got to give my thanks to Mind Sports, to Christian, and to Ed for putting this game online. I'm really, really happy it's out there for people to try. And yeah, so go give it a shot and let me know what you think. I will have, like I said, the second longer video with a more detailed intro to the game and a complete play against the AI. And then my third video about its ancestors, Catchup and Slyde. So I hope you'll check those out as well. And let me know what you think. So see you in the next video. And in the meantime, stay safe out there. Take care.